All right. So let me go ahead and I was listening to Vosh on this Twitch panel with supposedly all lefties, which happen to be libertarian socialists and socialism done left. And I know people have their critiques of him. I'm not going to get into that. But the thing is, though, is that they said they went on and on talking about Rush Limbaugh and how influential he was, and Christian radio stations and how they promote conservatism and everything else like that. But then they said that the internet is the new radio. And, people on Twitch and YouTube, and I imagine, well, I mean, since Nick Fuentes left, I mean, it's only Wignets really that exist on Twitch. I mean, on D Live, sorry. I mean, maybe Trovo. I mean, who the fuck goes on Trovo anyway? But anyway, and I thought about it, and I said, does it really have the same power? And I thought back to that. After spending as much time as I have, traveling with my parents to to various parts of Texas, or, going wherever, I thought about the power of radio, because radio still has a fair amount of influence. You know, I mean, you still have XM radio, and I imagine, satellite radio and all that sort of thing as well, of course. But just, you think about that power. And you think of Rush Limbaugh, especially, in the late 80s and early 90s. Yeah, he did have a lot of power, just as people said. But the thing is, though, is it, with the whole pill popping, with his, feminazi rhetoric and all that, he kind of went back and forth. But the thing is, though, you have to find those stations. And the thing is, like I say, they kind of talked about it, the middling, local conservatives and everything else like that. But the thing is, though, is that you stay on those stations and you may buy from them, and you may hear local yokel stuff in addition to the national stuff. Okay. Now, the thing is that you have NPR, and a lot of the time, AM radio, you have to dig for that bit. AM radio is it's just kind of like an island in and of itself, in general. AM radio, and that's where a lot of conservative stations are. It's on AM radio. Most people are on FM, that's where all the 100.9 and, the local stations are, the big popular stations, like Kid Craddock in the morning and stuff like that, talking about local, I mean, national news, but for, but talking about celebrities and this and that, that was much more, that's where FM is. And you have NPR, of course, National Public Radio. And of course, Ted Cruz has threatened, oh, we're going to get rid of NPR. And of course, NPR, they have, they'll play the BBC late at night. And they'll have shows like Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, which is very much shit lib sort of stuff. They'll have has-been hack comedians, people like Paula Poundstone, or, she hasn't, and you'll have people like the guy who says, we'll keep the light on for you. I can't think of his name offhand, but, or people like that. But I think back to, which could have as much influence, arguably, as Rush Limbaugh, would be Car Talk. For those that want to look it up, Car Talk. I'm going to try to speak with my crappy Boston accent, Car Talk. Tom and Ray Magliozzi. Click and Clack, the Tappet Brothers. They're I think that's about all the names, but who answered car questions of varying types and of various car issues. And a lot of the time it isn't about cars, it's about something else. You know, and these are very much human interest stories that exist. I hate to sound like a newspaper guy, but that's how it was. I was thinking about this one called uh, this woman named Rebecca who was moving to Atlanta, and she was annoyed because her father would make her fill out a book of where you got gas, how much you spent on it, and where you got it, and when you got an oil change, and other repairs to the car. And she didn't want to deal with that. Now, father paid for the repairs, paid for the gas and everything else, but she had just graduated college. So she was like, I don't, don't cut those money strings. I remember, Ray Magliozzi saying that, yeah, don't cut them money strings. you know, I was actually gonna force y'all to listen to a car talk episode, but then I said, no, I'm not gonna make y'all do that because that would be selfish of me. I make y'all, I make y'all endure the Shaw Brothers movies and whatnot. I'm not gonna make y'all listen to an hour of car talk where mostly I'm just sitting there listening. That's not very polite. So I won't do that. What I will say though is, um, you know, they had a fair amount of influence and they got awards, Peabody Award and this and that. And rest in peace, of course, to Tom Magliozzi, who was the guy that really wanted to do this show back in the 80s. And, he passed away in 2014, complications of Alzheimer's disease. And they had ended the show 2 years earlier. So, like I say, that it ended in 2012. And it lasted quite a while. Like I say, I mean, there are plenty of CDs that my mom and dad we've listened to for years and decades worth of time of traveling around the country. Put in the car talk, okay. Or you listen to one with Martha Stewart, this and that. Yeah, they had Martha Stewart on. Yeah, and they called her, yeah, Margaret. Yeah, so they had that. It was it's a very interesting show. But anyway, just kind of a boomer sort of thing. But I wonder, it's a different sort of animal with the internet. I recorded a video earlier that I'm probably going to upload this one tomorrow too. Is this whole business with parasocial relationships? Yeah, it existed on the radio as well, and you'd get the creepazoids, this and that. But I think the difference is that you can see instantaneously what your fans are thinking and what they think about what you're saying. Versus radio where you rely on people calling in and then fumbling around. Well, yeah, I like what you're saying. It's like if it's some old, you'll see these, the old conservatives. Oh, it's so sad. You'll always hear these old women call up. I still have a landline and this and that. Oh, our Republican governor doing so great. And I think to myself, and obviously, Majority Report still does call-ins and all that, but it's like, does it really have the same influence? I don't know. Does it? I think the difference now is that, yeah, it is locally funded, this and that. I mean, I guess you could say with the internet. The difference is, though, is that you have to kind of dig, you have to kind of dig around a lot of the time, especially, if you follow Wignats and whatnot, they get kicked off YouTube. They go to D Live, or you have to go to their site and listen to it. You'll hear these, these ridiculous, the ridiculous nonsense that comes out of their mouths. But that's a whole different thing. I'm just saying is that I think the difference is that people get very polarized, and it's much more where people stay in that lane where it's just like, do people want to search around the internet for different, like I say, the internet is becoming a smaller and smaller place. Radio while they do have, FCC rules and everything else, radio, is much more. I'll put it this way: is that radio and the internet are becoming similar, where it's like, yeah, there are plenty of stations out there on the radio, yeah, where you can listen to Tejano music, particularly, living in Texas, obviously, yeah, it's hard not to have Tejano music playing on there, or, just kind of the traditional, I'm going to say Mexican just out of ignorance, but yeah. Whereas, on the internet, yeah, I mean, you can go on Twitch and they'll have the DJs playing or something, or you could find, some live stream on, Instagram or something like that. But it's like, it's much more contained, I think, where it's just like, it's hard to explain, really. I just don't think that you could realistically compare the radio and the internet. I think that with the internet, you're limited by, what you say, and it's pretty instantaneous, where it's like, oh man, look at what so and so saying on here. Oh man, okay. And everyone will dogpile people, where it's like it doesn't really exist that way as much on the radio as it does. I just don't think the internet is still kind of, is very much, has its own culture, and it has its own, values in a way, where it's like radio, yeah, you could just turn it on and, listen to it and whatever, even if it's XM radio. And a lot of the ways, it's kind of the difference between podcasts sort of stuff versus, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Like I say, I think the internet is still a much more, as much as the internet is getting smaller, it still has a language of its own. It's something where, it's like on Twitch, you'll see the Kek wall, the K, the Kek W and all that stuff, or the, Omega lol and all that sort of thing, or the emojis, this and that. I think it's much more controlled in that way, I guess, where it's like, it's it's much more pre-programmed, I guess. Same thing with emojis, this and that. Whereas the radios, you can just listen, and you can, if you don't like it, then you can turn it off, or whatever, I don't know. Like I say, I think the radio will still exist, and there's still going to be folks that don't have anything else to do. It's just like, if you're a plumber, and you got to keep up with the news somehow, so you're going to turn on, I don't know. And what was that guy's name? Matthews? The hell's his name? Ken Matthews. That's it. Yeah, Ken Matthews, who took over Limbaugh's show. And like I say, I mean, he looked like the typical conservative sort of guy, just absolute cringe, But man, I'm gone on for 13 and a half minutes. But yeah, basically, Tildeer is, the internet is still kind of its own thing, and a lot of people will maybe listen to podcasts or listen to like Libsyn or something like that to find something that they like. But are they going to go on Twitch and, try to get into that stuff and listen through there? That's a matter of opinion. Anyway, hope you'll enjoy that. See you later. Goodbye.